Okay, so Split Polarity. Thank you both for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit, who are you, what's your team, where are you from?
Yeah, well, I'm Theo Fogg, and I'm probably the lead designer for this game. And this is
Robert Lancaster. I was, I suppose, one of the programmers. Although I did enjoy sort of working quite closely with Theo, and we sort of did quite well together.
Yeah, we got quite a big team.
We do, yeah.
Like
we had
fair few programs, fair few artists.
Yeah, you can check the credits.
How many do you have in your team?
Well, I suppose if you check the credits, you can see a list, a whole breakdown of the fellow scientists who helped design, create this experiment.
Yeah, so we have our artists, Emily and Ollie. They did great. They provided a lot of the models and all the sort of textures and everything we use.
Would you say the work was spread across you relatively evenly? It never happens like that in a team, but
yeah, we had weekly Trello board meetup sessions. So we would all get together and we'd go through the different specialisms. We had a different board for each, and we'd each kind of choose. It wasn't like strict, but it'd be like, okay, so by the end of this week, it'd be good to have the artists have done this, programmers have done this, worked on this, and then designers experiment with this. Cool. So yeah, we had that sort of weekly modular, not like a sprint, but we all knew what we were doing each week.
So amidst each of the units of the designers, programmers, and artists, we each all had these goals where like people could just kind of pick up or choose whatever sort of task they wanted to do. We sometimes assign tasks specifically, but oftentimes it was just like, if you want to do this, feel free as a general to the programmers, that kind of thing.
Cool. Okay. So obviously, what year are you guys in?
Year one.
First years. Okay. Cool. So let's actually begin. Let's take a look. So whilst we're playing, do you want to talk a bit about what is your game? How did you?
The concept.
Yeah. Well, okay. So the concept first came to me actually when we were really early on. We were given like the first lesson, and they were telling us they gave some like constraints. So there were some like have a custom controller, be on one screen, all these things, and one of them was be a digital reimagination of a physical game. And as a kid, obviously, I used to play a lot with those little spinny maze circles you'd get in like a party bag or something. And also those labyrinth games, those wooden boxes where you'd rotate one wheel and it would spin in axes. And I went immediately with that idea, and I thought, how could I make this such a simple twist that would make it a new thing? And so obviously the obvious choice was to make two mazes intersect along a proton rift and have mazes traveling in and out of the fourth dimension.
Yes. So it's all quite inspired by Portal 2, actually. All the sort of like crazy...
Right, I did get a Portal 2 vibe out of this.
Maybe questionably legal science experiments.
With that sort of, I don't know, the Cave Johnson-esque announcer as well, who talks you through everything and narrates your interactions. It's like that sort of, for science, whatever the cost.
Yes.
A bit of shenanigans. We initially had we split the group into two to decide whether we wanted to have, because we didn't immediately go with this idea, because it was very left field and we weren't sure if it was going to work. So we split the group in two, and half would, for a couple of weeks, would work on this, and half would work on a safer idea, like a platformer with a twist. We got our demon core there.
That's one of the power-ups.
But we ended up really liking this idea, and we went with it. We rolled with it, and it seemed to pay off.
No, and it's cool. Like you have a very, I can see people spending a lot more time than the kind of 2 minutes. Well, 2 minute 30, I think it was the
2.5 minutes.
Yeah, the kind of time that you set.
Yeah,
that's not nearly long enough.
We had some play testers to say that, because originally it was about like 3 minutes, 3.5, and they were just like, it's a little bit too long. But a lot of the fun of this, so the main idea on our pitch was that we wanted, because obviously we knew the EXPO people are going to be coming around very quick here and in and out. We wanted an arcade style game. So one that you don't have to have progress, you don't necessarily even have to play it. You can pick it up, anyone can just kind of grasp it immediately and give it a go. And with that comes the design philosophy also. The main source of replayability is getting a high score. Like the old classic arcade games.
You can record your score now, actually.
I can see this really working. Have you thought about doing this using a phone and the sensor in the phone to...
rotate it with... So we actually had someone in our group make a custom controller using an Arduino motherboard.
Right.
And that was, we decided to implement that with the secondary mode, Labyrinth. We have a single player mode for if people just want to play on their own.
Right.
Yeah.
And that one, you would actually move the square in your hand, and it would move this square sort of traditional Labyrinth style board.
Sure.
And that was good. We couldn't get it working for the EXPO because the libraries wouldn't install properly and all that.
Right. But I like the idea of the 2-player. I mean, that brings a new dimension to Labyrinth.
Yes.
That really does. But I mean, there's lots of times where 2 people are sitting together with their phones.
Yeah, there are. I do like this idea of having it like a multiplayer sort of phone thing.
That's
you can have it head to head.
Hey, date night. You know, date night. That's it. I mean,
drinking games. Perhaps.
Yeah.
That would be a good way forward.
Chill and antimatter rather than Netflix. You know?
Yeah, antimatter and chill.
Yeah,
That's it.
cool. So yeah, I mean, obviously that was one round.
Yeah,
and we did have one power up kind of show up. How many power ups are there?
Only 2.
Only 2.
We have like a design for a lot of them. In the end, we had development time for only 2 of them, but I think the 2 of them are like quite impactful. And I feel like if we had a lot more, it would be kind of overwhelming or hard to tell what's going on. So the 2 is just the wormhole, which teleports your atom to a random location, and the demon core, which explodes all the enemy atoms.
So there was a case of, I mean, oh look, there's a wormhole. We had some concerns about onboarding because I think originally we designed about like 15, 17 power-ups.
Yeah.
Some of them could have been implemented. Like we had some kind of in progress, but we decided, we want this to be as accessible to just anyone to pick up as possible. So for now, we limited the amount of power-ups just to, reduce the amount of bugs that could come up close to the end of development, and also, people trying to figure out everything without a tutorial.
Yes. One of the like really interesting things that would need to be developed really early on was the whole versus maze rotation, because you have technically 2 mazes at once, but only one half of either, and they combine to make the same maze.
Yeah.
That was the problem I was confronted with at the beginning. And I asked a few friends just like to see what they would do. And they gave me like a few solutions, but all of them were quite complex, and I'm still learning. So I sort of went to figure out my own way, and I kind of separated it into 2 blocks of need to do the visuals of the stuff, of only one half each maze existing at once. And I also need to do the collision, because obviously atoms can't be colliding something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And with that said then, I managed to, well, with a little bit of help from the online, find a shader, which managed to physically hide part of the maze past a certain plane. So you would create a plane, and that shader would then basically just ignore like all the visual components of the maze.
Yeah.
But the technical solution for the physics was really quite simple.
We
surprisingly so.
we thought this was going to take like a month
Yeah.
to figure out.
It took a week.
Yeah, but it took like a week, so we were so happy with that.
The physics is
that's the key to your game, isn't it? I mean, that's the heart.
We poured it all into getting that figured out straight away. It's like, because we had some lectures about it, but that design philosophy of if you're making a game concept, you want to have the key concept. You don't want to start making the walking system, the jumping system, some imagery. If your game is about, if you were making God of War, you want to have a really satisfying axe that you can throw and hit things with. And so we went obviously just straight to get this maze working as fast as possible. And then everything else is just bonus.
We each had a working game in that first week. So our professor was technically like, it was functional. You could, score, end, all that kind of stuff.
Matt has just got too many balls in play.
It was close.
I'm afraid it's a fair playing field. You have to. Yeah, but in terms of the physics, that was actually solved by just having a collider for either half the maze. And when an atom crosses over to one half the maze, it just ignores the collision thing for the other half. So technically both collisions exist at once. The atoms are just ignoring one half of it when it's on.
Neat solution.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I've asked many different groups this at this point now. If you had to say, what was the one standout problem, child, bug, feature that you didn't intend to have? What was the one thing that's most memorable with the project?
Most memorable.
Most memorable bug.
Most memorable bug. Well, I'll start this before talking about bug with maybe Labyrinth mode itself.
Yes.
We kept saying how it was so simple because we got a prototype like almost immediately. It's just, it's a box you can rotate on axes. And it was so simple for so long, and we knew it was going to be so easy to do for so long that it took us until maybe the last couple of weeks to realize, we haven't actually done much to this. It's still a grey box and everything. So Labyrinth was kind of our neglected second child. this game. But,
That's okay. It is not the main part of the game, in fairness.
Yeah.
But I wish we could have given more love to it, I think. Because although we've polished it a bit now, there's still a lot more room for polish.
Yeah.
That I feel like we could have gotten in if we gave some more love into it early on.
In terms of bugs, what do you think the most kind of
Most notorious bug?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I feel like it's one that, well, I have to say it still exists.
It might be one that's
It's one we've made more minor, I think,
Yeah.
but it's one we've never been able to like completely purge.
Yeah.
It's the point where it's like such a strange occurrence that it's okay.
Well, as scientists, this is an experimental realm.
Yes.
So it's a feature, not a bug. You know,
Yeah.
It's all scientific development. But occasionally, the black holes will get confused and rotate with the other side of the maze.
Yeah.
So it'll be attached to the movement of the red maze, but it'll only appear on the blue side.
Rarely this can still
And it
happen.
has been months, and we don't know why it happens.
It's probably fine.
So
Yeah. I like there are a lot of other there are a few other minor things where it's like, oh, I know that happens. It's okay, we can live with it. Because that's kind of a bit difficult to solve. This has just been something where I've looked, I don't know why they spawn on the wrong side. All the code should rotate them a certain amount.
I genuinely think we might have invented like the fourth dimension here. We might have actually made a gateway. So
The black holes are unfortunately gaining sentience and free will, and they've decided to do what they want to do.
yeah,
It happens, very
happens
rarely.
to all good first year teams.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a demon core, but no atoms.
I missed it.
No, we have a black hole on the outside there, actually. That happens.
Yeah, if a demon core explodes, it will create a singularity on an atom that might move forward.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, this time you thrashed me.
Yes. It was
Yeah,
close
that's
the
a
last
massive
time, but this
advantage.
time, unfortunately,
Yeah.
not.
Okay, so we can take a quick look, I guess, at the
Yeah, labyrinth.
Labyrinth mode, yeah.
mode, since that's the thing. That's single player only,
Yeah,
right?
go for it.
Yeah, you can
Yes.
talk about the music that
As
you
the champion.
Oh, yes. Here. So as you'll see in a second,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give it a moment as the music starts. We have dynamic music. So as you get less time, different stages of music will play, which will sort of be a bit faster and more like tense. Sometimes it can be a bit jumpy, but I think it works out quite nicely.
So procedurally driven and
Oh, now,
Yeah. So
okay.
Oh, no,
there
the bug.
there's the bug.
yes. Okay.
It's okay.
We might want to cut this bit, actually, if we play it again. If you can pause and exit, you should be able to restart the game.
So yeah, no soft lock, but that is the problem with Labyrinth.
Oh, okay.
and we can launch. I'll cue you up for the music. Okay.
Yeah. So you want to get the quarks, the white things.
Yeah.
And the red things are these wormholes, which will reduce your time by 30 seconds. The quarks add time by 20 seconds. So if you're quick, you can get them and add a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the music.
Yeah, well, basically, it's we've had a few different tracks put together by one of our artists. She can also do a bit of music. So we didn't have any audio people, but we got a lot of sound effects from free sound with Creative Commons zeros. But with the music, she made like a big long song that slowly got progressively faster and added more layers. And we just split that up into different tracks. And so at different intervals, it will start playing a different one. And so when you get more time, it will go back to being slightly more relaxed if you're in that threshold.
Yeah.
So it just adds a little bit of tension to it. It's this game definitely existed for those moments, and it has proven people when they're on their own coming around the expo, they've enjoyed having an option to play on their own if they want one.
Yeah, it's a very meditative type experience. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's very different to the whole sort of the main branding.
Yeah.
of
Something we like to do
Split
is open up like a multiplayer option though, where you're controlling different axes, which would just be another kind of like
So one person is X, one person's Y, and then it becomes like, no, we got to go over here, over there.
Yeah.
But we abandoned that early on because this game specifically, we wanted to test the Arduino custom controller. So we had a computing student in our group, and we basically, he was going off and making this thing that we would communicate with Unity, pretend to be a joystick, and you could hold it in your hand and rotate it. And it works.
I saw a really interesting experiment where people would, a big crowd controlled a game, and there were no instructions, and you either could go up, down, left, or right. And it's how the crowd started moderating each other's behavior and how they were being really successful. So you could actually open this up to multiplayer even. I'll show you.
Everyone runs over to the right and it moves it.
That's
right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Red card, blue card, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, so basically what happens is every time you run over a quark, it will turn into a singularity. And then the next quark you run over, the other one will turn into a wormhole. And so you don't want worms. So slowly the board fills up with more and more and more.
And it gets more
wormholes
difficult.
Until it becomes pretty tricky to actually
Navigate anywhere.
Navigate, yeah. But it's the stretch goal for this would be to make it procedurally generated. That would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's random in the sense that every time you start, a different set of wormholes will spawn, but all the locations are predetermined.
The one thing of procedural is like, it's difficult to actually have routes at some point, because the way we have it set up now is there's 36 in total, and you can guarantee that there's a route for everyone.
Yeah, there'll always
It's
be a
just
way
difficult.
around.
Right.
But
And
if
you
it's
do it
procedural-
procedurally, you'll end up with
You might just be
a
stuck.
box.
Yeah.
Well, there's fitness. There are things you can do to address that for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is not easy,
No.
but it's certainly quite different. So,
Yeah.
was this the first idea that you as a group kind of all settled in on, or?
I think because I did a bunch of the documentation for the game. You might get a funny voice line at the end to see how you did. Oh.
There we go. You get different voice lines for the number of quarks.
So when we first decided upon this maze idea, I made some documentation for the initial ideas, and both of the ideas were this split maze design. That was, we weren't sure if that was going to work, and then also a labyrinth where you control it. And so we had both pretty much very soon on, but we pretty much exclusively worked on the split polarity idea.
I think that's kind of the USP for the game, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
the
what
main idea.
makes it different. That's what makes it stand
it's
out.
almost like that's the name of it or something.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably should have called it. Named it after that mode or something. Yeah.
Now, Labyrinth's just a nice option to have. It was quite fun to just kind of work on it, get it done, and to see how it works. And even though I think compared to like the manic gameplay of Versus, it's quite chill. It's not like too, it's a bit samey across the board. It's still, I've certainly actually quite had some satisfying fun just collecting quarks and racking up a big score. I don't know, there's some sort of primal human desire of collecting these
make
white
the
orbs.
number bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least praise on that, and I'm quite happy with that.
In the options, there is, of course, a secret.
Oh, yes. I think we
Rat
actually
mode.
need the mouse to choose this, actually.
Yeah,
So I'll quickly...
Okay. Double
Oh, it's happened again.
Yeah.
There we go.
Rat mode.
Rat mode. There we go.
And
That should
refresh the
work.
menu probably.
Yes. And now...
Okay, so now you're going to show us, and I'll start again.
Yeah.
So now you're going to show us your secret, are you?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, it's a whole different game.
And what's your secret called?
Rat mode.
Yes.
Rat. Right.
This was added like 4 days ago.
In Versus.
Okay,
We were
all
like,
right.
what can we do? We
Okay,
thought,
so specifically for Versus then.
yeah, we thought, lab rats, they don't get enough appreciation. So we thought we could finally get, we could holster the rat community and get them employed in our maze.
Yeah. It saves a bit of budget for the atoms.
There it goes.
Atoms are
Don't
exceedingly
worry.
expensive, but rats are less so.
Yeah, and when they explode, they go to a lovely place where there's all the cheese they want.
Definitely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were thinking about having red explosions, but I think that would be a bit too much.
Yeah.
So-
Misting them might be.
Yeah.
A fine red mist. Yeah.
Some with the audience that the Expo has, it's not always adults.
Yeah.
Well, this actually originally came from before we even fully finalized, like in the pitch phase,
Yeah.
before we did the pitch, where I think I just made like an off-comment joke about instead of having atoms, we just have rats,
Roll rats around the
which
maze.
just like, I was just imagining like a
It's got
still
life-
model of a rat just
a
rolling
life in
around.
its own, yeah.
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 And we eventually got it in, thank God, thanks to our artist Ollie, who made a wonderful rat model.
Yeah, see what's happening there is all the wormholes have a small amount of gravitational attraction. So you can get them stuck, you can kind of lock atoms onto walls.
Yeah.
If you
But-
just rotate the maze out to unlock
You can rotate them to sort of boost them out
Yeah.
and out of the gravity.
The thing with this game is the original pitch idea is that literally anyone picks up and plays it. You can play it casually. You can play it, once, never pick it up again. You've kind of seen what there is to, the main appeal. But there is a lot of nuance that we've discovered from testing this for months.
Yes.
Where you can chamber black holes because when they start disappearing, if you lock them under the grid, they pause. You can chamber up your atoms against a black hole and then all loop them into the center when it's opportune. Stuff like that. So
There's a lot of tech that we've discovered by just playing it and it's
Yeah.
it's become quite competitive, really.
It's easy to learn, but then it's like there's a skill ceiling. There's a kind of a
One of my favorite techs is that if an atom is rolling towards the other side of the maze, like around the outside, and you rotate it like away from the side of the maze, so you're forcing the atom to build up velocity while it's like rolling towards the other side by rotating it away. So it's constantly like trying to roll towards the other side, but you're rotating it away, so you're delaying it. And then when you want to, you can then sort of quickly then move it towards the other side. And because the atom has spent all that time building up velocity, it'll have a big boost when it goes to the center, which you can sort of slingshot it all around the opponent's maze, and get some of the black holes or power-ups around the outside.
So I've just gone for destroying as many of his rats as I can. Not scoring any points otherwise.
But no, ethically questionable, but certainly a lot of fun.
There's a lot of questionable ethics in this whole game. Yeah.
But no,
Well, the rats are dying for the furtherment of humankind.
Yeah.
They're rats of honor. They know what they're doing.
so in terms of things to showcase, I think that's everything, right?
I think that's mostly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Cool.
sure.
It's a beautifully simple idea that is, by and large, well executed. And for a first-year game, this is amazing, guys.
Thank
you.
That's really good.
Thank you.
That's really good.
It's been so much fun seeing all the scores pop up over the course of the expo so far. Obviously, on this build, it's like all the scores are wiped, so we're able to see all their
this
names.
is a remote PC.
But that being said, though, it's just like, I mean, Theo, you have been hogging the top spots on the verses. You're both there as bad.
Dethroned.
Yeah.
I've got to give a special thanks though to Neil McDonald. You may have only given him one L in the credits by accident, but he certainly takes no L's because he's a very good supervisor.
I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah, no, he's a great supervisor.
I suppose now there's a bit of time. Are there any other things that you want to shout out? If people want to play this, obviously they can play it in Expo. Where else can they find it?
We have an itch page. You can find that quite easily if you go to the Falmouth Games Expo itch page where they have them all showcased. You might find it by looking up Split Polarity.
Cool.
And there you should find just a download link. We might continue to update it a little bit to refine a few things. But by and large, the game is there and you can, play it on any silly little occasions.
Okay, so your scope is we're kind of done.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
it's
so.
a good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, one
wrong
thing.
with that.
We scoped pretty effectively, I definitely think. But one thing we would probably have liked to have is the option to select different types of mazes. So have many different mazes. We actually had a couple modeled, but we didn't get them in at the end.
I actually, when I was looking, I was looking at that not too long ago, actually, just sort of before the expo. Our philosophy was that I was just going to complete the main verses, and then once we had everything in the scene, just duplicate the scene and just copy and change the mazes. However, when I looked into that, I found we kind of struck gold with this maze design, because all the other ones were like pretty good, but I found this one which is kind of the most dynamic. We could definitely, like in the future, make more maze designs, but this one, in terms of just playing the game, and it's kind of quite replayable by itself, and it works quite nicely.
But who knows? Maybe one day this might become a sort of a mobile thing based on that sort of feedback.
I mean, you have all the power to do that.
Yeah, it's very
You are literally the
repeatable.
developers.
It's very repeatable. It's very playable.
That's true. Yeah.
I can see you could really play this again and again and again.
Yeah.
It could be quite addictive.
Yes.
You could be the next Breakout.
Yeah. Well, breakout success. Who knows?
So thank you both. Any other shout outs? Any shameless plugs that you want to do now? Last chance?
I think we're good.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
And please don't harass the Large Hadron Collider, because this isn't very scientifically accurate. You will be split into quantum spaghetti. If you try and do any of this.
And just to throw you, because for the editing, we're just going to throw in a couple of extra questions, though possibly not that relevant for yours. If your game was an animal, what animal would it be?
An animal? Oh, it'd have to be some very strange deep sea creature.
I was thinking
quite
that.
agile.
See, you threw me. I thought you were just going to come out with rats.
No, I was kind of thinking some sort of like genetic amalgamation.
Maybe a rat that has fallen off of a research vessel to the bottom of the ocean and mutated into some strange thing with tendrils and anglerfish-like lenses.
And if your game was a smell, what would it be?
A smell. Probably smell like
Sulfur.
sulfur.
Yeah.
Sulfur or
charming.
sweaty lab coats.
Sweaty lab.
Yeah, it goes with the rat.
Yeah.
Yeah. A rat.
No. Well, thank you both so much for making the time to showcase your game.
Well, thank you for having
It's
us.
been a
Yeah,
pleasure
thank
to
you for
have
playing
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and a very original game. Coming from first year, that's a really nice concept, really well executed, well done.
Thank you.